Welcome to the Ultimate Dental Podcast, the place where you can learn how to create a dental practice and a business life that you love. Listen in with Dr. David Moffet as he interviews successful entrepreneurs and successful business people and successful dentists as they share their business successes, their stories, and their breakthrough ideas, sharing pearls of wisdom that you can take back to your practice and implement immediately so that you can have that great practice with more patients, higher profits, and less stress. This is the podcast where great dental practices meet with successful business processes. Thanks for tuning in to the Ultimate Dental Podcast, the podcast where thought leaders, industry experts, and thriving practice owners reveal their very best tips, tools, and strategies that will help you grow your dental practice faster. Now, here's your host, Dr. David Moffet.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. It's a milestone episode. We are recording episode 100 of the podcast. Who said we couldn't last 100 episodes and with a bullet? Just like the $1 trillion debt that the Australian government has, we're going right through that mark as quickly as we can. It's just going to be in the rear mirror and gone. 100 will be gone. But it gives me great pleasure today to welcome a very good friend of mine, probably one of my favorite mentors, somebody who had a big influence on my career as a dentist and also as a dental coach, all the way across the other side of the world from me in North America, where it was -2 degrees Fahrenheit this morning. That's cold. That's cold because -2 Celsius is like 28 Fahrenheit. That's really cold. So 10 foot of snow outside. Dr. Ron Arndt in Cleveland, Ohio, well, specifically North Ridgeville, but Cleveland, Ohio on Lake Erie. Dr. Ron, welcome and thank you for being my 100th guest on the Ultimate Dental Podcast.
What an absolute treat after our separation for so many years, just because of our circumstances. An absolute joy to be here with you, Dr. David.
Well, it is, Dr. Ron, and I'll begin by just introducing how we got to know each other, because we have known each other since I think about 2001 was when I first came across you and your writings about dental practice. And it was at a time where I was putting together a portal for dental education, and you very generously allowed me to use your articles for education for the members of my portal. And I learned a lot from you and what a smart person you were, and about thinking about dentistry and dental practice as a business, but not just a dollars and cents business, it was a people business as well. And the crux of any good business is the relationships that you have with your customers, because they will stick by you through thick and thin. Fast forward from 2001, that portal became an afterthought as I moved on to growing my dental practice and back to the nuts and bolts of dentistry. But then in 2010, by sheer coincidence, I met somebody from Cleveland who was a customer service expert. And I decided to travel to Cleveland with my wife to attend a 4-day educational. And I contacted you and I said, "You're in Cleveland. I'm coming to Cleveland. Any chance of us getting together?" And so we consummated our relationship in Cleveland in July 2010. We met, the four of us, your lovely wife Trish and my wife Jane, went out for dinner. And from then on, from 2010 to 2019, and whenever I was in America, I would visit you. You would allow me to stay with you. I had other reasons to come to Cleveland as well as to see you. And so we had a very long friendship there until COVID hit. And since 2019, I haven't been back to North America at all.
As a matter of fact, I think you must have stayed at our house 4, maybe 5 times when you came back for your continuing education, the Julius group that I suspect that you're going to speak a little bit about. And you're right. I was really able to get to know you. And then also we visited in Arizona when Trish and I were out there for winters, and we got to have you and Jane there with us as well. It was
Yes,
wonderful.
because again, you were down there for the winters, so for a long period
Yeah.
of time, and Jane and I would visit Arizona for Infusionsoft conferences,
Yes,
our
that's what it
CRM.
was.
So again, there was plenty of reasons to stay with you and enjoy your hospitality, and I missed those times. But let's talk about you. This podcast is about you, and your career has been an amazing one because you are now in the fourth chapter of your career. Your first
I
career,
am.
you were a dentist. Then you were a financial advisor, and
To some,
then
yeah.
then you became a dental coach, and
Yes,
then you just decided, pulled up stumps. That's it. No more coaching because you became a full-time grandparent.
I
And
have.
that's your occupation now, though I suspect there could be a fifth career coming along. But
Yeah.
when I met you, you had just when I met you physically in 2010, you were in the process of, and you just were finishing off writing this fabulous book,
Oh,
Killing the
yeah.
Practice Before It Kills You. And a it's a wonderful book. It's an easy to read book, and I'd recommend that every dentist should read this book because it is just jam packed with true life stories and wisdom that you can share. And I think the title of this podcast, I often wait and review my podcast and say, well, what did we talk about? How do I get a title? But the title of this podcast is something that you have said to me over and over. And in this book, it is the last words of the last chapter. And it is that no one is as smart as all of us. And that's the truth. And that's the truth. We can always be learning. And so let's talk about your dental career, because I think there were some really good lessons in your dental career. One, I've got two, but I'm going to start with the first one, which was that you suffered a heart attack as a dentist on a weekend, and that
Mhm.
kept you away from your practice for a couple of months, I think it was.
Well, it was 5, 6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's long enough. That's enough to
Yeah.
make
Oh,
a
yeah.
big dent.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Right.
But the most interesting part of that story, and that I guess was the inspiration for the title of this book, what happened on the first day back at the office that flicked a switch in you? Because that's really when you changed from thinking there's got to be more to this than just what I'm doing as a dentist. And there's a whole chapter in your book about that thought, that you think that your whole persona, dentists think that their whole persona revolves around their success as being a dentist, but there's so much more to life than that. But tell us about that first day back, because that's a very remarkable story.
So unexpectedly, here I am having this heart attack. And with me, when I had this heart attack, I had this 14-acre piece of property. We had a lake and a pond, and I had 40 of my staff out there, including my bride, my wife, and my children, who were very young at that age. So along comes this heart attack. And fortunately, because of the way I had my practice set up, my brother had come into the practice with me as an associate. And I'm out for 4 or 5 weeks recuperating from a heart attack. Thank goodness I survived, because quite frankly, the first signs of heart disease is sudden death. And
Yes.
I beat the odds, right? So to which I am thankful to this very day. I am so thankful to God that I managed to survive. So here I'm ready to come back into the office. And I say to my brother, who most masterfully kept the practice going, and as you can well imagine, being without income for 4, 5, 6 weeks, yeah, that could be a challenge. Scott did a wonderful job of covering the office on my behalf. And so I'm sharing with Scott as I'm about ready to come into the office. Listen, I've been given instructions. You know, I'm an A-type personality. The cardiologist says, no, you've got to come in and ease yourself into the practice. I say, Scott, talk to the ladies and let them know. Don't work me up. I don't want to deal with a bunch of administrative crap. Just give me 1 or 2 weeks just to get my land legs back on, right? So I walk into the office, we have our morning huddle, and everybody's, oh, Dr. Arndt, it's good to have you back. Oh, yeah. We just loved you. We missed you out. Okay, good. So I'm out treating my guests. At that time, I used to call them patients. As I got smarter as time moved on, I called them my guests. However, here we are towards the end of the day. I'm walking into my office in between seeing patients. Yes, there's two notes on my desk. The first note said, Dr. Ron, when will we get our uniform allowance? The second note was, Dr. Ron, when do we get our bonus? Now, I don't know about those of you who are listening to this. My sphincter tightened up beyond description. I was so damned outraged. Oh, they loved me? Bullshit. Excuse the French. My brother saw how I responded being an A-type guy. He wrapped his arms around me and said, Ron, don't go out there, meaning go out on the floor. Don't go out and talk to your patients, your guests. You've got to calm down. And I did. Thank God for Scott to be there to help me with that. I managed to get through the day, and I came home so angry and upset. And my wife now gets upset because she sees that this sweet and adorable, wonderful guy who for all these years had taken care of his team and his patients, his guests, and that's all they wanted to know about? My uniform allowance and my bonus? Are you kidding me? And it was shortly after that when Trish said, you need to tell that story, because I think there's a lot of other dentists out there who may not exact same set of circumstances, but by golly, something needs to be done differently. And then that's where, because of my wife's coaching, and yeah, I didn't know it was coaching at the time, but she certainly was a great coach. And that was the genesis of my book about killing the practice before the practice kills you.
So that's a great introduction, and well done in setting it up. Everybody watching and listening to this goes, well, what did you do? What did that then inspire you to do? Because obviously you couldn't go back to work the next day, the next week, and just deal with that sort of insensitivity to, here's poor old Dr. Ron with his stick, and he's slowly easing his way in. All they want is their laundry allowance. What did you decide to do? I understand you called a meeting.
Okay, so thank you. What was fun about this is I gave myself a few days, thanks to my brother's guidance and my wife's coaching, and I sat down and said to myself, I've got to do something different, because here I am, MBA, a dentist with an MBA, supposedly really smart. And I got caught with this. It told me something had to be done differently. So what was the current mode of operation in this practice, which was a wildly successful practice? We were the envy of the whole county. It was a great, great practice. And yet practice is it's not just about money. It's just not about being successful and famous. It has so much to do with life values and life balance. And I remember saying to my brother, you know what, Scott, I want you to know, in the next 30 days, I am going to sit like a wild man on the weekends and the evenings, and I am going to redesign this practice, because the way this is working, it doesn't work. I can't live this way. I'm not going to tolerate this insincerity under this guise of we really care. And I also had to really look at me, because who's the leader? And the reality is, I think we've all heard this phrase, if it's to be, it's up to me. I needed to look in the mirror, and that's what I did. So I didn't step back and blame everybody else. If I were going to have to blame anybody, it's this guy. And so what I did is I said to Scott, you give me 30 days, and I'm going to recreate, redesign, re-envision, reimagine this practice. Now, keep in mind, he was a young associate, a year and a half out of dental school. The poor kid didn't know what the hell just hit him when all this stuff happened. But I said, I'm going to make a tectonic shift. And I did.
So,
and what Go ahead, Dr.
So
David.
what
Yeah.
did you do?
So I spent those 30, 45 days, whatever it was, and I tore apart every element of my practice, how we communicate, the mix of services, the things that I love and don't like to do, my core values. Oh my God, my core values and my vision were the two key documents that I had to recraft. So think of the 10 Commandments. This is not like some spiritual conversation. It is simply my core values needed to be codified in a way that, one, instead of me thinking about them, I needed to write them down. Instead of me thinking my team members would know them, I needed to share them with them. Instead of thinking that other people would understand how this practice is going to run, no, I had to show them. Well, in order for me to do that, I needed to codify that. I had to declare, here are my core values. Here's the vision of the practice. So those two documents were singularly the most important thing that I had to do. And that's the toughest, hardest work I ever did in terms of running a business. So along with all of that, then I looked at our physical plant. I looked at position descriptions. I looked at, I think I mentioned the mix of services, how we ran this business, morning huddles. I took this practice and exposed it from the beginning to the end, and I redesigned it. I completely came to the table with, here is a package. And so my poor brother sitting on the sidelines is saying, oh my God, do I still have a job? And I'm saying, Scott, don't you worry. I scheduled, with the help of my wife, I scheduled a Sunday meeting with the entire team. Now, can you imagine going back to your dental team and saying, ladies, we're going to have a meeting on Sunday and attendance is mandatory, non-negotiable. So they all showed up and we had a special team development room in our office. And I'm practicing out of a brand new, beautiful, magnificent facility. The latest technology way back in the 80s, right? So we all gathered together. Unbeknownst to them, my bride was in the other room setting up a buffet of food and everything else. Unbeknownst to the team, I'm in this other room, happens to be in the second floor. They're all sitting around. And my brother, all I told Scott was just be prepared, stand by my side. And we're all sitting, everybody showed up. I threw a box of Kleenex on the floor. We were all sitting in a circle. And I threw myself down next to this box and I start wailing like an alligator. And I'm screaming, the practice is dead. The practice is dead. The Ronald F. Arndt DDS Inc. practice is dead. So just imagine, Dr. David, the looks on the face of these ladies. They were stunned. So was my brother. But all I could think of was I needed to make a case that said to everybody in the office, this practice no longer exists. I picked myself up and I looked at the face of these people and I had a flip chart. And I began to walk through, first, my core values, second, my vision, third, the brand new business plan for this practice, including new fees, new hours, new mix of services, things I will never do a damn complete or partial denture ever in my life. That's for my brother to do, right? I explained how we would treat our guests, new patient intake, the languaging. It was, now that I think back, it should be a PhD in business because what I said was no more of the old ways. As I explained all of this, and it took probably an hour, hour and a half, I then finally looked at everybody and each of you have an opportunity to interview for these positions. I will go downstairs. I'm going to give you guys each a half an hour to think, talk. You can call me names. You can say what. I don't give a damn what the hell you say. I'm going downstairs and you can come down if you want to stay. I'd love to interview you for the EFTA position, expanded function, chair side, administrative, hygiene positions. If you choose not to be in this new vision of my practice, you're welcome to walk out. I will write you a letter of recommendation. I have no animus. I don't hate you, but I'm giving you full opportunity to make a decision. And I went downstairs. Trish had all the food laid out and so forth. And two people walked out. One said, I don't know. And the rest interviewed for the positions at the new wages, new benefits, new entire HR policies. Take it or leave it. But this was about taking care of Akko. And I want the audience to look at my face. And when I say take care of Akko, I got to take care of me first. Now, to some of you, who knows, in this modern woke day, you would say, whoa, that's disgusting. No. And the reason is, if I can't be healthy, if I can't feel good, if I can't believe in my values and operate my vision, the practice out of my vision, I'm of no value to you. And I needed to be of value first to me, second, my family, third, my team, because I'm a believer, love your team first. They'll take great care of your guests. And I'm getting goose pimples now. And if you think about this, this is 40 some years ago, and it is visceral to me this very moment as when it happened back then. And I have to tell you, it was the absolute most magnificent thing I did in my practice. And it turned out that I ended up working with fewer staff, and I increased my income by almost 50%. It was an absolute genius decision. I wish to think that I'm that damn smart. However, the fact that I made that stand and I said, I believe in me first. I've got to take care of me. And when I can do that, then I can love, value, appreciate, and do everything under my power to take care of my ladies. And I don't mean that in any despairing way. It's just that all the people working in my office were women, and it was a mutually beneficial for my brother. So, Dr. David, that's the story. And I'm happy to say I've been in my brother's office, and two of those same original ladies, 40 years later, are still there. That speaks to something.
That's a wonderful story, and obviously the inspiration for the title of your book, Killing the Practice Before It Kills You, How Throwing Out My Business Model Saved My Life.
Yeah.
As you were telling that story, the piece, you intimated it, but I don't know exactly. How old were you when you had that heart attack? You would have been in your 30s.
I was 41 years old.
Oh, wow.
And 41 years old. And for the benefit of your audience, I'm going to be 80 this year. And there's a little bit of spirituality in what I have to say, and also a lot as to the value of core values, loving other people. And that is, I'm here almost 40 years longer than I should have been. And it isn't because I'm so good looking. Clearly, you can see that. It's not that I'm so damn smart. It is just that something came up in my life unexpectedly. It's not fair that you have a heart attack at 41, but you know what? Life is just not fair. And so for me, the answer was, if it's to be, it's up to me. I had to make that choice. I can't blame Dr. David. I can't blame Lisa, my EFTA. I can't blame these other people. I had to really look in the mirror and say, whoa, boy, this is a wake-up call. And so now, Ron, what do you choose to do? You can whine, bitch, and complain, or you can say, I'm going to grab myself and do something different. And I did, to which I'm still living this wonderful life with this same wonderful woman 52 years later, and a wonderful family. Life it's not uber perfect, right? But by golly, I think because of the decisions that I made back there, had I not killed that practice and redone it, I would not be here. I'm convinced of that.
For sure. And kudos to you for recognizing that things had to change, but also taking the action, sitting down privately and just saying that old model's not working. We need to develop a new model. And I love how you just said to them, you're all fired. You can reapply for your positions if you want to, and some
Yeah.
chose not to, which is
Yes.
often in those situations. I've heard a similar situation from a friend of mine who he bought a hotel, a pub, and
Okay.
after he bought it with a partner, and when he found out his partner was stealing, he got rid of the partner and half the staff left. He then built the pub back up to be able to get his money back. It was only a 4-year venture because he said, "This is not for me." He built it back up, renovated, and then when he sold it, the new owner put in security cameras, and the other half of the staff that stayed, they all left.
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah.
People will be looking for what's in it for them, and that sadly, those 2 notes that you had no respect at all for your journey of 5 or 6 weeks before that, and your recovery and easing back into the the
Yeah.
the running of your practice. Now, the second lesson that I remember so vehemently, I'm gonna come to in a minute, was I just wanted to there's one chapter here, the gerbil wheel dynamics. He can't run forever, and that's what I love the start of that. I mistakenly thought that my success, both business and personal, was tied to an unfounded belief that my worth was solely based on how successful my dental practice was. That's what I was mentioning before. So many dentists believe that, and so many dentists would never have that mind shift that you had, that something has to change. Where's the problem? And they never go back far enough to say the problem. I tell my clients this, the problem is in your bathroom. And they go, "In my bathroom?" I said, "Yeah, go into your bathroom, have a look
Yeah.
around. There's usually a big shiny thing, and whatever you see in that bathroom, big shiny thing, that's the problem. It's
Yes.
you."
Yeah.
Now, the other memorable story, which is similar to one that I had, was that there was a time when your team came to you, or some of your team came to you and said, "We're charging too much for crowns. We need to
Oh,
drop the
God.
price, then we can do more crowns." And you said,
Right.
"Fine." So tell me that story. Tell our listeners and viewers that story. You decided to drop the crown price from X to Y, whatever those numbers were. You'll fill
Mhm.
those in. You ran that at price Y for a certain time. I think it was for 3 months, maybe. It was a
Yeah.
long time. It wasn't just a week or 2.
Yes.
What was the result of that process? Well, let's talk about that process.
Well, that was just it's fun because it goes back to you as a leader and how are you going to how do you set the stage for the people who work with you? I always felt, and it was part of my learning, that I was open with the ladies in the office. And so we're always looking for ways to grow the business. I was a very statistical guy. Like I mentioned, I got my MBA, and I can't remember if it was before or after this, but it was always important for me to keep track of all my statistics. I had a dashboard way back when the word dashboard was not even invented. And I noticed that the number of crowns that we were delivering on a monthly basis had dropped. And because the team's income was also intricately connected to our practice income, the answer that the ladies would give is, you need to lower your fees because your crowns are too expensive. Really? Why? I mean, I don't understand. Why would you say that? Well, this office does this office does that. So at the time, now don't choke, ladies and gentlemen, on this. Keep in mind, I told you my age is 80. I was practicing in the 70s and in the 80s. Back in those days, a crown would be $250. So don't get your panties in a knot over this. They thought that fee was too high. I said, "Okay, ladies, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut that fee back, and don't hold me to this exact number, but I'm going to say I'll reduce it to $200, and I'll do this for 2 or 3 months. And we're going to keep track of how many crowns. We'll do everything exactly the way we have, and let's see how it happens." So we did, and nothing really happened. What I discovered was it wasn't about fee. That's a facade. And even today, here we are, 40 years later, it's the same joke. It isn't about fee. It's about how we present ourselves. It's how we treat our guests. It's how we language our conversations. It's how people feel that you're there to really care for them. Well, once I was able to show the ladies what the statistics were and that there was no difference, I raised the fee to $500. Canada, we ended up doing more crowns than we did before. I rest my case.
I had a similar story in my office. I had a receptionist there who came to me and she said, getting a lot of patients complaining that your prices are too high. And I said, that's odd because I haven't put my fees up for 2 years. It's been 2 years since I've put my fees up. Why are they now complaining now that they're too high? And so I thought, what do I do? Do I put them down because she's told me that patients are complaining? And I said, or do I just tough it out? And I said, no. I said, if they want to complain that my fees are too high, I'm going to put them up so they can complain. So I went and put them up 10%.
There you go.
And guess what happened? Nobody complained.
Well, I so agree with you. So back to that heart attack story. I was working 5 days a week. When I came back and I shared to the ladies, here's the new practice model. We're going to 4 days a week. And here's the deal. We're going to 4 7-hour days. That's 28 hours of hard, bust your noogies clinical treatment. Our income absolutely soared. So that whole concept of, let's be available 24/7, Monday through Sunday, and all that nonsense, that's ridiculous. And I am living proof of that because my ladies, when I sat down with them and said, we're going to go to 4 7-hour days. Oh, I got childcare issues. Oh, I got this. Well, I'm going to give you 45 days to get it figured out. If you want to be here, I absolutely want you here. I love you. If you can't, you don't want to, let me help you be successful somewhere else. And it worked out magnificently. To your point, Dr. David.
I've heard along my journey, Ron, and you would know, and you've probably had clients in the same boat who have worked only 3 days a week. And that absolutely horrified me to think, well, what do you do the other 4 days of the week? Well, they recharge their batteries. That's it. But to my point, and we were talking about our good friend, Gary Tackix, who not a dentist, but a dental coach, and then became a practice owner in partnership with a dentist. And the first thing he did, the first he partnered with, office was only open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. He had a 4-day weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They then hired another dentist who then became a partner. He came in, he worked 3 days a week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He had a 4-day weekend. And then they brought in a third dentist. He worked Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He also had a 4-day weekend, all with Saturday, Sunday. All three of them had 4-day weekends with Saturday and Sunday in there so they could do weekend stuff on 2 days plus do other stuff. And it worked just fine. I remember meeting a dental assistant, and I'm interviewing her next week, I think, because she's very out there on social media about dental assistants and helping dental assistants. And she was working in an office where the dentist was working 3 7-hour days a week. And that's all he wanted to do. And I go, good for you. I thought, how does he do it? But now I think good for you, because it's all about not wearing your body out. Your heart suffered because of and it may have just have been a genetic thing. As you said, the first sign of having a heart attack at that age is that you die. And we know that if you only get one heart attack. And so, but my body wore out with the arthritis in my hands. Even when I quit dentistry 8 years ago, I thought, am I really that bad? But now I have difficulty doing up buttons. I remember seeing a patient who had Velcro shoe straps, and I'm going, why's he got Velcro shoe straps? And his wallet had a Velcro. It's getting that way. I've had to give up my golf, and I probably put it down to the fact that I believe that physically dentistry wasn't that tiring. But when you sit in one position all day long with one arm out and the other arm doing work, that throws your whole spine out and everything.
Clearly.
We've got to look after ourselves.
Clearly. So, go ahead.
No.
I've had a couple of my coaching clients, because that was my third career, who in our conversations, you hear about managed care and you got to buy into PPOs and you've got to do this. And there were 2 or 3 of my clients that, to tag on to what you were saying, David, is that they made the choice They didn't have to kill their practice like I did. They were probably way smarter than me. However, they set their practices up to fit their lifestyle, their health circumstances, their family relationships. And you made a comment earlier about how we dentists identify our worth, value on, I'm doctor this, or I've got this kind of practice, or I'm so important. And yet all I have to tell you is have a heart attack once and all of a sudden all that shit goes away, because the only thing that makes a difference is you and your family. And I've been blessed because somehow I got the kick in the tuchus. I needed to do something different. And as such, I have been able to enjoy my wife, my daughters, and now 5 granddaughters, to your point, my 4th career of being Papa Ron, to 4 granddaughters under the age of 10. And it's changed my life. Had I not made that decision way back when I was 41, who knows? I mean, I mean, it's a story, right? It's a life story, but we all have those life stories. And Dr. David, I suspect each of your clients, they have these unique set of circumstances, and they all seem to think, well, but I'm different. You know what? Of course we're different. But you know what makes the biggest difference is right here. What's important for you? What makes your life sing? What is it that you really want to do? So whether you want to work 3 days, you want to have this magnificent Taj Mahal practice, that's okay. It's not for you or I as coaches to choose that. But by golly, at the end of the day, I guess you have to ask yourself, what's most important for me?
What age were you, Dr. Ron, when you decided to hang up the drill and sell your practice? And then you went into financial advising for a short while, because then you became a dental practice coach. You became a qualified coach, and it was through meeting you personally and working out the decision for myself that, like, I didn't even know the difference between a coach, a consultant, and a
I
teacher.
remember our conversation. Yeah.
So, and coaching was your model. Your model was quite labor intensive, because you did a lot of one-on-one coaching with individual clients, and you gave them specific times, and then you still had one client who I remember used to ring you every morning just to say hello.
You would. Yeah, you would. Yeah.
And
So,
so tell us about the coaching journey and how let's skip over the financial, but you left
okay. Well,
yeah, being on the
maybe a
tools.
brief. So I had, as a practicing dentist, had become affiliated with an organization at the time. It was called the Kendrick Mercer Company, and it evolved into many other things. And I had become a client of theirs, and it was over a period of time of my work with them while I was still practicing. They wanted to do some different things in the financial planning world, and they recruited me out of practice. And I had this I'd been in practice for 20 years, very vibrant practice. I liked what I was doing. By this time, I had killed the practice. I was 5 years into my new model. And with the support and encouragement of my wife, I left it, went into the financial planning world, 5 years. Loved that world. And it wasn't selling investments. My definition of a broker is somebody who invests all your money until it's gone. This was a completely different concept. And so I learned through that second career of the immense value of comprehensive, holistic financial planning. It's not about buy this stock or sell this one. It's not, because the reality is nobody is smart enough to pick and choose and time the market. I don't care. Even if you're listening to this and you think you're so smart, you can't. That being said, I thought that was going to be my career for the rest of my professional life. Circumstances shifted. I come into this coaching world, and it's been magnificent. And it has given me the opportunity to support other docs in their journey from where they are to where it is that they want to be. So, yes, I am the only master certified dental coach on the planet. It's not going to even get me a cup of coffee. I'm a board certified coach. I went through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of training. Blah, blah, blah. all of that is insignificant. What I did find is my niche was being able to work with and support other docs who were really, they recognize something isn't working. And what's the possibility, Dr. Ron, that you might be able to help me? And I did that for 16 and a half years working out of my house. And it was and has been the coup de grace of my professional life. And coaching other dentists to help them make the choices that are most important for them. It isn't me. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've got scores and thousands of documents, thousands, all kinds of information. But you know what's really most important is I would look at you, Dr. David, and say, tell me what's most important for you. Where do you want to start? And you tell me where you're at now and where you want to be. My job as a professional coach is to ask you the right questions because in reality, every damned answer is in you. You have the answer. And I love that because when you came to me and said, what is this coaching thing? You were here at the house, sitting in our kitchen. And I just loved it. And you embraced it with a passion. And you have taken it to a level far further than what I ever thought of, or maybe even could have, because I'm not as good looking nor as smart as you.
Oh, Dr. Ron, the Mutual Admiration Society has just kicked in.
I know. I get it.
But my biggest difficulty I found as a coach, and I know that you had some very different sorts of clients, is my biggest difficulty is that, and I don't like to categorize dentists as a certain type of person, but it's a certain type of person who gets into dental school, smart enough to get into dental school, smart enough to get through dental school, smart enough to get a loan and buy an office. I should be smart enough to be able to work out my own problems without a coach. And that's that last bit is the tragedy because they leave so many good choices. Let's not just say money, there's lifestyle, there's family. They leave so many good choices on the table because they don't realize that they're making the bad choices. They just think that this is what my friends are doing. It must be working for them. And as you and I know, it's not working for them. It's a myth sometimes. I'm so successful. They burn money. They work their tail off and they still burn money and they still think this is good. And you mentioned those dreadful three letters, PPO, which we don't have down here, but we have insurance. People come for their free clean and they pander to people. They pander to patients who have no financial skin in their own teeth, if that makes sense. You know, they have I'm here for my free clean and I want to come on a Saturday, even though you have to pay your staff time and a half on a Saturday and my service is being paid by my insurance and that's less than what a normal person, you're financially bankrupting yourself on Saturdays. Why are you doing this? They can't even answer you why they're doing that. I don't know.
So let me share with you in my second career when I would go out and give presentations all around the country in the United States on financial planning and investment management. Physicians, I wish you could see this. There would be physicians and dentists in the room. The physicians sit here and they've got their notepad out and they're listening so intuitively. And they're writing notes, everything that not everything, but so much of what they're writing these notes, right? Here's the dentist. Yeah, are you kidding me? I mean, like, I know this shit. I mean, who are you kidding? And what I've come to discover is we dentists, I don't know, there's something in our DNA makeup. I don't know how the hell they select us, but we just think that we know everything. And so in my coaching approach, here's the way I look at it. The Lone Ranger had Tonto. Mickey had Minnie. Abbott had Costello. Peanut butter has jelly. And so for the people listening, the guy doesn't know what he's talking about. The point I'm trying to make is we can't do it on our own. Yeah, you're smart. I get that. It is just my tagline is no one is as smart as all of us. I wouldn't be half the person that I am were it not for my wife. Yeah, I'm a smart guy. Like you said, I got through dental school. I figured that's out. But you know what? In the reality of life, wouldn't it just imagine what it would be like to have a coach, a support person, a tonto, if you will, in your life to bounce ideas off of. It doesn't mean that every idea is the good, the best, the better, but it does mean, wow, when I go to Trish and I say, I got this idea, she says, ooh, I don't know if I do that. Well, that's what a coach does. A coach, the doctor says, well, I'm thinking I'm going to fire this lady. Whoa. Well, let's just run this. There's some HR issues. There's stuff that has to do with team morale. What about your audit trail? Let's just talk about it. Okay. So the coach is that person, that support that you get to bounce ideas off of. And that's what I've so loved from my third career as a coach is I am not as smart as you, Dr. David, or you, Dr. Smith, or you, Dr. Jones, or whatever. But you know what my job is to cause you to pause and say, I never thought of it that way. Maybe there's another option.
Yeah, you've got to. It's interesting. I was in a meeting yesterday where it was three dentists trying. I was one of them trying to work out a plan to help one capitalize on their intellectual property in their practice. And
Okay.
all three of us are successful as independent dentists. In fact, one of them, the third dentist, he made a point of throughout his career, he became a partner in a 5-partner practice. He brought his brother in to replace one of the partners, and then they whittled it down to just him and his brother. They got rid of the other partners. He says, we don't play well with the other children.
Oh, boy. Okay.
And
All
so
right.
there is always a difficulty in committee meetings, as you would know, in body corporate meetings, as they tend to become, arguing over. I've been a member of, an owner in unit complexes where they've argued over a budget of the body corporate that was less than what I paid a dental assistant to suck spit out of a patient's mouth for a year. I'm going, this is not the United Nations, just
That's right.
move on. Make a decision, move on, instead of the big debate over the color of the pens or
Yeah.
all sorts of
Well,
rubbish.
I've discovered the best meeting is when 2 of the 3 people don't show up. Just a thought.
Somebody said to me once they believed in committees of odd numbers and 3 was too many.
Okay, well, you got another one. Yes. Yeah. That's great.
So, and getting back to our friend Gary Tackix, one of the things that he said about that partnership with him and those 3 dentists who all work 3 days a week, the decision with each dentist as they came on, so it was first him and one dentist and him and another, no decision was ever going to be ratified unless it was a unanimous decision. So they would have to work out that they all agreed to a decision. They never wanted a 2-to-1 or a 50-50. Let's try it and
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said we never went more than an hour or 2 before we agreed.
You came to a resolution. Yeah.
Very quickly on that basis. If we don't resolve this, we're not going ahead. So let's
Right. Good point.
not just argue for the sake of arguing. And sometimes we've got to think of that too. Like I did learn a lot from sitting in on your coaching calls when I stayed with you, being in the other room on another headset and hearing what was going on and the way you answered every question that was asked of you with a question back. That's it. And I do that. They say, David, what do you think I should do here? And I go, well, what do you think you should do? That's just my comment, man. Yeah, good points. What do you think you should do? And just let them come to the decision you want them to come to.
Well, you're hearkening me back because if I would to look behind me would be the chair where Dr. David sat when I was doing a coaching call. You were brand new to the concept of coaching, and I gave you another headset, invited you to sit in the background, but I always introduced to my clients, Dr. David Moffet from Australia. He's sitting in on the call, and with your permission, may he be a part of this? And every client said that. And it was fascinating for me to watch you as you're listening to those things And then from time to time, you chirp in with a question. And what I was able to say to my clients, back to that phrase that no one is as smart as all of us, you came up with a question that Coach Ron didn't think of. The client didn't think of. And when we finished, and I would always end up my calls with, what's the value you're taking away from our call today? Everyone would say, this was really fascinating having another coach on the call because he asked me such interesting questions. And that's what I believe you have done with your clients over all these years from what I've been able to experience that you're doing. Thank God they have somebody like you.
Thank you, Ron, because I think part of going into the coaching journey, sure, it's nice to think that you're being paid to help people, but ultimately it's the help that you give them
Oh.
and to give them an opportunity that they weren't able to find on their own in terms of growing their practices and getting a practice that works better for them than what they brought to me. Sometimes they bring a dog's breakfast to me, a hot mess.
David, may I interrupt? Because you just hit on something that could be a trade secret between you and me, but I'm going to share it with your audience. And I think you do too, but I'm going to speak for me. I so loved this coaching concept of helping other people. And it's not like I'm Jesus and I walk on water and all that stuff. But I have shared with maybe 2 people in my whole life, I would have done this for free. But I never shared that with my clients because I wanted them to pay for the immense value that I believed I was providing for them. Not that I'm so cool or smart or better than the next guy. It is having that second set of ears, that other pair of eyes, the questions. It makes such a huge difference. And yet, if like you, I think think of it like the docs that you're coaching. My presumption is you've selected the kinds of clients who love taking care of another human being, making them feel safe, valued, loved, and appreciated. They're doing it. Yeah, we all need to make a living. We all want to be wildly financially successful. And yet they're doing it because they really love taking care of their guests. And what you, David, and I hope that I portrayed over my whole career is I love it so much. But hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a client of Dr. David, you gotta pay him.
Well, it's funny. People ask me about monetizing my podcast, and we're recording the 100th episode today, and I say, I do it for free. But what it does for me, it gets me meeting people who are interested in some of the other things that I do as well, and therefore, if they choose, they can investigate that as an option to help them as well. But I'm happy to put people together from guests on my podcast. And often, if you look at some of the guests on my podcast, you go, "Who's that?" I interviewed a lady who I met at an Australian speaking meeting. She's a feng shui expert. I said, dental offices are designed so badly. I said, you should be in every
Sure.
dental office fixing it up. And so that was great. She jumped at that. Another guy worked in systems for Kellogg's. And he said, that was one of his bigger clients, but also smaller clients. He said, and the systems in manufacturing and food and manufacturing and retail are just the same as the systems in dentistry. He said,
They
why
are.
dentistry? And I said, they're the same. Your principles are the same here. And so we had a good old chat about 2 different worlds that really do overlap, but sometimes people don't even put that together. And that's what I
don't.
like to see.
And to chime in, although the focus of my coaching business over all those years was dentists, could you imagine I coached CFPs, certified financial planners. I coached CPAs in the States. Those are accountants. Listen to this. I coached podiatrists, chiropractors. Oh, and you're going to love this one. Funeral directors. Now you might say, oh, well, what are you saying? It doesn't make any difference. I'm tagging on to what you just said, Dr. David, is the same challenges, the same issues, same upsets, the same concerns. They traverse all these professions. And I can tell you, in the embalming industry, their business model is no different than a dental office, or is a CPA, or is a podiatrist. They're all the same. And so the model, the information that you have to share, well, uh, I'm not trying to sell your stuff. I'm just sharing with your audience that the whole coaching process that at least I was involved with, and I think you're doing, Dr. David, is it just brings to the forefront the ability to ask the right questions.
Well, I think, and that's a good way to finish up today, because we've certainly run over time, Dr. Ron, and we could
Oh,
talk forever. Because the good thing is that how you've just ended there, people have said to me about my book, that if you cross the word dentist out and wrote in another profession,
so
accountant,
true.
it's the same for everybody. And it's the same lesson in your book as well. Sometimes we have to look at what we're doing and just say, is this killing us? Because if it is, we've got to stop, because as far as I'm aware, Dr. Ron, this is not a dress rehearsal. Some may believe it is, but for me, I'm not banking on it, because I think that I've got to make the most of what my time is here, not just for myself, but also for my wife and for my children as well, so that they are then set up. I don't know, and we're getting philosophical here. I don't know what the world's going to be like in 100 years' time. Hopefully, it
Right.
bounces off the wall it's headed towards and comes back to some sense of reasoning and
Yeah,
reality.
yeah. Somehow the universe figures this stuff out, but let's hope it's that way. Yeah,
Well, history does repeat.
right.
Napoleon marched across Europe in the winter and failed, and then Hitler did it, and he failed a couple of 100 years later.
Yep, yep.
It's
I get it.
it just tends to repeat. Dr. Ron, it's been great chatting with you. I really appreciate your time this afternoon, and your time, and this morning our time. We did have a bit of a downpour there, and that means I don't have to run my sprinklers today, that's saving money on water is very
Yeah.
important when you're on the farm.
And
It's
you can
love.
see I'm in a sweater because it's like 0 degrees in Cleveland, Ohio.
I'm just thinking, we're recording this in February. It's in advance for issue number 100, which is going to be closer to summertime. Shh, we didn't say anything about the temperature,
No, we didn't.
but I wanted to catch you. And again, it's about planning. But great catching up with you. I so look forward to coming back to the United States. I think that I will be there in January next year for Orlando. There's a pod fest for podcasters and dental podcasters. There's a day for dental podcasting. If I'm on the East Coast, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump up to
Well,
Cleveland.
it could work out.
Let's make a plan.
Okay.
Dr. Ron, if I know that you're retired, but if anybody wants to get in touch with you, is there a place they can contact you? Is there a place they can get a copy of your book?
Yeah, I only have a few I maybe have 40 copies left. That's about it. But if you send them to Ron Arndt 40 at gmail.com with a personal nice note.
Thank you for tuning in to another inspiring episode of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you for being a part of our dental community and joining us each week on this incredible journey. If you found value in today's episode and you don't want to miss out on future episodes packed with expert insights and actionable strategies, here's how you can stay connected with us. Firstly, hit that subscribe button. Whether you're listening on your favorite podcast platform or watching on our website, subscribing ensures you'll never miss an episode. Secondly, share the love. If you know a fellow dentist or colleague who could benefit from the wisdom and knowledge that we share here, please share our podcast with them. Also, please share the podcast on your socials by simply clicking on the social icons wherever you view or listen to this podcast. Together, we can all do our bit to elevate the dental profession. And finally, stay engaged with us. We love hearing from you. Your questions, comments, and feedback fuel our mission to provide the best content for your professional growth, your personal growth, and for your practice growth. Remember, your journey to creating a dental practice and a business life that you love is our mission, and we're excited to be your trusted guide along the way. Thank you for being a part of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. Until next time, keep smiling, keep striving, and keep on tuning in to the Ultimate Dental Podcast.